Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Quality Management Automation in SMB, Real-World Best Practices, Lessons Learned, sponsored by ETQ. I'm Dirk Ducharme, Editor-in-Chief for Quality Digest, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. Small and medium-sized organizations face some unique challenges when it comes to automating quality processes. Whether you are a small or medium business or independent subsidiary, you often lack the resources, manpower, and budget that larger organizations usually enjoy. So how do you know when and what to automate? More important, how do you make it happen when you're really bandwidth constrained? So in today's webinar, we're going to learn how to address the unique quality process challenges of small and medium organizations, how to evaluate the hidden costs of paper and manual processing, when and what processes to automate, and some lessons learned and best practices from a small business that has automated quality processes. Before I introduce today's guest, just a reminder that at any time you can send questions to us using the Q&A button. If you mouse towards the bottom of the screen, you'll see the Q&A button right there at the bottom. Just send your questions to us as you think of them during the presentation, and we will get to them at the end. A recording of this webinar will be available one day after the webinar at approximately this time tomorrow. You will get an email from Quality Digest with a link and information all about that. Okay, we have two presenters today. The first is Crystal Sliva, Quality Assurance System Administrator at Intertek. Crystal has been managing quality assurance systems at Intertek for more than 20 years and has administrative oversight for QMS, training management, document management, suppliers, audits, regulatory issues, and a lot more. She has designed and manages document retention and current QMS databases. And also joining us today is David Isaacson, Senior Director of Product Marketing at ETQ. David has more than 25 years experience in software product marketing and product management and has successfully brought software as a service products to market in many industries and high growth companies. David has worked for a variety of software companies, including Oracle, where he led the product management team responsible for integrating analytics into the Oracle database. And David, I believe you are starting us off today.
Yes, and thank you, Dirk. I'd like to add my welcome to everybody on the webinar today and say thank you to Crystal for joining us as well. As we go through the day today of this webinar, give a quick introduction to ETQ as well, and then Crystal will take us through a bit more detail of the Intertek quality journey. And some of you who may know Intertek may say, well, that's not a small company, not a medium-sized company, it's a large company. But what you'll learn is that the division that Crystal is in really focuses and acts like a smaller company or organization. And I think a lot of you on the call today, when we looked at different organizations that we're on, some of you may be part of larger organizations, but you focus and think and act like smaller companies as well. So I think it's going to be very relevant to everybody on today's call. Before we get to Crystal, I just want to make a couple of comments here. And when we look at the mid-market, I know that there are a lot of really specific challenges, and you probably have a lot more than what we'll talk about today. But you know, it crosses the whole product life cycle, whether you're starting from product design and the teams that you have and managing the quality through design, the supply chain, and all the way through to your customer usage. You know, you probably have a small team. One of the things that we know that is always a challenge is resources and time. And so, you know, how do you make sure that you are able to really address the quality concerns at every step of the process? And I think when we hear Crystal talk today, you'll see how Intertek is solving these challenges on a day-to-day basis. And as I said, time is one of those precious commodities that we never have enough of, and especially in a smaller or medium-sized organization. You know, we have limited resources, not just within the quality team, but really across all of our teams, whether it's the IT department and how they support you on a day-to-day basis, or the design team, or the development team, or the manufacturing team. It's just, you know, when we look at at the management of people and how, as quality experts, we can help them, we get stretched thin pretty quickly. And part of that is maybe because we have a lot of bureaucracy, inconsistent processes. We spend a lot of time preparing for audits. How many times have you dug through a file cabinet or looked through emails trying to find the right document that's needed for an audit? You may have multiple systems where you have different information and you have to search through these different systems to even find that information. And then it goes even beyond just the time that you spend on a day-to-day basis trying to figure things out, but how do you deal with your suppliers and make sure that you vetted them properly and continue to vet them as you go through, bringing new suppliers on board, and in that unfortunate instance where you need to eliminate a supplier, making sure that you're doing that in a proactive fashion. Then you have product quality issues as well, looking at your scrap and waste and recalls and the pressure that puts on the organization. Certainly in today's connected world, if a quality problem hits the market, your customers know about it and they're sharing that information very rapidly with everybody else. And on top of that, you have regulatory burdens, and it never ends, and it's always getting worse, whether you're a life sciences customer making medical devices or you're building cars in an automotive world. You have regulations you have to deal with, and you always have to be reporting and making sure that you're not running afoul of those regulations. So lots of different challenges, and I'm sure all of you on the call could add to this list as well. This just happens to be a set that we see consistently across all of our customers who are trying to solve their day-to-day and their long-term quality challenges. So what Crystal has done and what we at ETQ believe in is that we really help create that competitive advantage and help you solve some of these quality challenges that I just mentioned. I mean, we've been doing quality management for over 28 years. That experience has meant that we've solved a tremendous number of quality challenges that we've seen in the marketplace. We have a global footprint. We support customers around the world. We have approximately 200 employees that are focused on quality. I mean, we have a product that's purpose-built for quality, and we actually support customers in so many different industries. It's not a focus on any single or a few industries, but very broad-based, and that allows us to bring a lot of best practices cross industry. And our 600 plus customers get to take advantage of that. And we have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of users on a daily basis who are driving quality in their organizations. This is because we have a very strong platform with a very robust set of flexibilities that allow you to make the quality system yours. It meets you where you are in terms of what processes you have in place, but also supports if you want to change processes and automate them and make them more productive. Certainly that is at the core of what we support with our ETQ Reliance QMS. And we focus, as I said, on a number of industries, but we also focus in on customers from very small. We have customers who are just exiting, in fact, in the startup phase, up to multi-billion-dollar customers who have hundreds of thousands of users scattered around the world. So the solution can support a wide variety of customers using our product. And based upon that, we have this really strong belief that you can become very competitive and get a differentiated solution in the marketplace and make yourselves differentiated to your customers. And you can take that agile approach to quality. Something's going wrong, something's changed, something's new, something's different. You can adapt very easily. As I mentioned, the QMS that ETQ provides, ETQ Reliance, is purpose-built for the quality market. We've just brought out our latest version of that, ETQ Reliance NXG, and it truly is a next generation version of QMS delivered in the cloud. And it's what we call cloud native, meaning that you're taking advantage of very strong technology that's only available in the cloud, but allows you to get unlimited flexibility, unlimited growth, and really plan for the future as you build out your quality management solution. As I mentioned, we do support a very broad range of customers, from very small to very large. When I look at the small and medium-sized marketplace, even if you're in a large organization, your division, your team may be operating like another small company down the street. So I think, as I said, it's going to be fairly applicable in terms of what we're going to talk today and hear from Crystal about. But you see just a range of customers on here. And I do want to point out one customer that's on this list right now, Tempus, and they just made CNBC's top 50 disruptor companies. And they're doing some really cool work in AI and machine learning to help solve medical challenges, especially around things like cancer research and COVID and others. So it's an up and coming company. It's one that you might want to keep your eye on going forward. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Crystal, our very special guest here. I'm very pleased that she is joining us today. And with that, Crystal and Dirk, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, while Crystal is getting her screen shared up there, just a reminder to all of you, if you didn't hear me right at the very beginning, all you have to do, if you have any questions, is just mouse down towards the bottom of the screen. You should see a Q&A button down there. If you click that Q&A button, that will bring up a Q&A screen, and you can send us your questions at any time. I do recommend that you send the questions to us as you think of them, and don't kind of hold off to the last minute, because then there's a whole rush of questions. It's just better if we can see your questions ahead of time and get those going. All right, Crystal, you about ready?
I think so. Can you see my screen? Okay, excellent. Well, thank you, Dirk. Thank you, David. And welcome, everyone. So Intertek, just minimize that. Intertek is, as you heard, a large company. But let me tell you a little bit about the location that I work for, and describe how we are more of that medium, smaller setup that really had a lot of the challenges that a lot of you may be facing right now. So we've been serving our customers for 30 plus years. We're located in White House, New Jersey. Our facility is about 30,000 square feet. We are an FDA registered facility. We are GMP compliant, and we are also DEA licensed to handle controlled substances for schedules 1 through 5. We provide an in-depth analytical testing to a wide range of materials. We're serving customers domestically and foreign in the following categories. So I won't bore you with going over the list, as you can see it in the slide. So a little bit about myself. I am currently, one of my functions in my role is the ETQ system administrator. I have been with Intertek for over 20 years and close to 20 in quality assurance now. I have administrative oversight of the following processes: our quality management system, training management, document management, etc. And so, as well as this now the system administrator for ETQ. So a lot of my experience that I've had for this role within ETQ, I'm on my third system, IQ, OQ, PQ, and for those of you who don't know that terminology, it's the process in which we validate the system. So that is basically, we wanted a system to do certain things. ETQ explained to us that it does certain things, and then we test that it and prove that it does what it says it should do and what we wanted it to do. And then I'm also, or was, the administrator for our document management system. So I had the experience of that system and managing that as we went into ETQ. I also created our document retention system, and I manage all of our databases currently that house a lot of these processes that we're doing in a manual way. So we are a small team in quality assurance at White House, New Jersey, and we wear a lot of hats and try to fit a lot into an 8-hour day. There's 3 of us in QA. We have 1 person in sample management and 2 people in IT that are all running the stuff that we need to comply with everything that we cover for quality assurance here. So here's a little bit of what we do cover and have to ensure the compliance of. So we're managing our quality systems, our CAPA management, which are all the KPIs listed below, deviations, investigations, change control, audit, observations, customer inquiries or complaints. Our document control systems, so versioning of documents. Audits, we get internal audits on a quarterly basis. We have external audits by our customers, and we are also audited by regulatory bodies such as the FDA, the MHRA, where, you know, we have to be inspected to support a lot of our customers' work. So we also do computer compliance, data governance, and data integrity. We manage our sample management department, our controlled substance management as well, training, data review of our GMP projects, and we have regulatory oversight for everyone here at White House. And then all of our equipment management, so you're talking inventory, all of our calibrations, and our preventative maintenances. We also do all the validation management, so all the instrumentation that's going to be used for GMP work, we have to take care of that, the applications, the methods, etc., as well as managing the facility and maintenance of the building. So our quality journey, we realized that a lot of our systems were becoming out of date. You know, there's still many that are paper or tracking on a spreadsheet. There's multiple individuals trying to manage all of the processes collectively. We have aging electronic systems, and we really needed to streamline getting through documents, getting through deviations, and we need an ability to link processes that belong together, like a deviation leading into a corrective action, or a new process or procedure going into place and now having to train. So we started drafting our user requirements of everything we wanted, our wish list of what we wanted a system to do. And then we also conferred with our sister site in Allentown, Pennsylvania, who also needed a solution. They were very small, locally managed, with 1 to 2 QA people trying to support the whole site. And they were on paper. So we kind of combined what we were looking for. And then we began looking out in the industry for the quality management solutions that were out there. We evaluated each of them. We determined the best fit for Intertek White House, New Jersey, and Allentown, Pennsylvania. And then we just started discussions internally and deciding on the best solution that would satisfy all of our needs. And we decided on ETQ, Reliance. And so then we went to work to implement the solution. We learned as much as we could about the system. It was really getting into the ETQ Academy classes, which ETQ offers. Those are training classes online, so you have the ability, if you're available at 9 o'clock at night or early in the morning, and that's where training on these items fits for you. You have the flexibility of taking those trainings ad hoc. I met with our consultant as much as possible to get that knowledge transfer. And then we had a lot of discussions of looking at ETQ's best practice solutions in their system and saying, hey, you know, can we do it this way? Can we approach the process in a more streamlined fashion? So then we tested out those processes with other individuals who might not be familiar, make sure that what we're building is intuitive. And then we did our testing and validation. So certainly we're looking for process improvement. We are getting better as we go. We reviewed our lessons learned from implementing our first 2 modules, and now moving forward, we get together and map out the new modules and our decisions in advance. So kind of deciding how we want to approach, like, do we want to take the out of the box process, or is there minor changes or major changes that we want to make it fit for us? It's the nice thing about ETQ is there's the flexibility to do it that way. We spent more time with users to ensure their understanding and make sure that the knowledge transfer now is moving out to them. We're finding out what the users need and don't need as we're evolving each module. And we templated a lot of our validation documentation so that it's really mapped out already of what needs to be plugged in. And then deciding in advance what we can do and what we need ETQ's services to help us with. So that maybe there's certain steps we don't have to go alone. So our ETQ journey, we purchased it at the end of 2018 for 2 of our Intertek sites at the time, White House, New Jersey, and Allentown, Pennsylvania. We installed it at the end of Q1 in 2019. We purchased the ETQ Reliance suite, GMP suite, and validated and launched document control, training management, and in Q3 of 2020, we launched it here at White House, New Jersey, and just recently in Q1 2021 in our Allentown, Pennsylvania site. I'm currently working on validating for Q2 our deviations, risk, and CAPA modules. And since our installation, we've completed about 3 to 4 patches since that implementation. So here's our roadmap, if you will. The first column we're still evaluating, deciding on those modules of where we're going to put them or when. The next column, these are the modules we're planning but haven't started developing just yet. And then the testing column is everything that I'm working on right now. And the completed column, those are all the modules that I have finished and are in live use currently. And we managed all of this myself, wearing all of the hats that I do and all my responsibilities here for our quality assurance department, as well as implementing ETQ. So, and I feel that it's so far been a success here and has definitely helped us out tremendously. So
thank you, Crystal. Yeah, I appreciate.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was good. And you know, being a practitioner, I think it helps for you to really, you know, you understand the challenges that a small organization would see on a day-to-day basis, considering your organization's fairly small. And I just want to say that I was thinking of another customer, a company called Lumileds, which does displays and electronics, and they had one guy who was doing most of everything for the quality team. Can you get into more? We're talking about resources. Can you can you talk a little bit more about the resources you have? And I think you had a slide that talked about 4 or 5 people in the team and what each of you are responsible for a little bit.
Sure, sure. So the 3 of us in QA, we have 1 person doing data review. We have myself who's doing all of our doc control and our quality systems management, so deviations, et cetera, and kind of managing those steps, managing Kappa. We have my boss who's covering everything and responsible for it all. As well as we have 2 IT individuals who are keeping a lot of our equipment going, and taking care of the day-to-day out in our labs, and end users. We have someone in sample management who's receiving samples, sending them out. But definitely resource limited for sure. It was my boss and I who installed this together, and trying to give him some credit that he reviewed everything, but I had to do it all. I had to write it all. like, so we got through it, and certainly I feel better now going into the other modules that it wasn't too bad.
That's great. And in that respect, then I guess your boss must really appreciate everything that the team does, because it
Yep.
hopefully helps him out a little bit. But in terms of your productivity, then how has Reliance really focused you on that in terms of helping become more productive? Has that been a benefit that you've seen so far?
Definitely. So it was ETQ has allowed us to harmonize a lot of our processes here, and create a central point for where everybody will ultimately, once we get all the modules going, will be able to take care of anything quality related in our key performance indicators, such as deviations, investigations, et cetera. And we needed an electronic solution. Moving the paper around the building and trying to get everyone to sign and risk of losing it, it was too much. And ETQ also provides those notifications, so I don't have to be the little reminder to everyone any longer. So it really puts a lot of the responsibility back to everyone to help support quality.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it sounds like you've taken the steps where I was thinking that you've started slow, right? You didn't try to bite off more than you could chew in terms of, and I think that's a really good lesson learned, is that start slow, right?
Yes.
Would you agree? And how you've decided to roll this out?
Yes, yeah, we just didn't have the bandwidth to be able to take it all on one chunk. And it gave us an opportunity to really learn each module, going at this pace. I have no complaints. I don't think my boss or the local management do either. We're doing it right.
Sure. And how has this changed in terms of the processes and the way you operated previously?
Well, as I was saying, the paper.
Okay.
The paper, the spreadsheets, the unvalidated databases, those all create potential risks for us that regulatory bodies or our clients could find issue with. So this really puts it all in one system. It's under control, and it's easily monitored by any one of us or them individually. And I really feel a lot safer with the solution rather than what we were doing.
Well, that's a great way to look at it. It's reduced risk, I guess, is the way I'd say that, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's interesting. So I want to turn a little bit to your customers now in terms of how going with the QMS has changed how you interact or process customers and that. have you seen changes in terms of methodology, in terms of processes with your clients? And I know you mentioned GMP, you know, more on the life sciences side, but also non-GMP customers as well.
Yeah. So I guess I can give you a little definition on the GMP,
Okay.
so in case any of the audience isn't aware. So GMP is good manufacturing practices. There are regulations and guidelines that are established by regulatory agencies such as the FDA that provide the minimum requirements for manufacturing to ensure quality and safety for pharmaceuticals, dietary supplements, medical devices, foods, and cosmetics in the and that cosmetic in the EU. The GMPs are based in law and required in order to manufacture and release products to the market. So as a GMP analytical lab, we are required to have a document control system, CAPA, training, tracking deviations, investigations, complaints, etc. So we also conduct non-GMP analysis here for research and development and informational purposes only. These types of analysis do not require validated methods. However, I still rely on control systems needed to support the GMP activities. We do both work for GMP and non-GMP. So our clients, they need to know that our systems are under control, and they need that transparency.
Okay. And so in terms of being able to adapt to your customers, has Reliance helped you with that?
Yes. So as I was saying, the customers are looking for that better control. They want to see that quality assurance department has the oversight, and we want to always give them that security that we have it under control and that we have everything visible, and that currently, since we only have our doc control and training modules implemented, our doc control program, our ETQs, gets a lot of visibility during our audits. Like, it's their first opportunity to come in, let me look at your procedures. Oh, it's version control. There's your review dates. Everything's housed in one spot. Oh, who was trained on this, so they can kick over to the other module and see. So there's really that traceability and the ability for us to demonstrate to them that it really is all managed properly. And so our customers have commented several times, especially in this virtual COVID setup that we've had to adapt to, that they really appreciate having that electronic solution and being able to take a look at procedures, you know, when they can't come here and flip the paper.
Okay, interesting. So one of the things I picked up on, you mentioned during your presentation, is that you've used the ETQ services at times. How much do you rely on ETQ and other vendors, you know, to help you through this? Again, being a smaller organization, you know, how have you done that? How have you used the services?
So initially, it was a lot more, probably because of the learning curve. It was during the implementation, you know, we had contracted for some consulting hours just to get more of our feel for the software. And then now I'd say only when I can't figure something out, or maybe I'm looking to find a better or best practice way to approach something that I can't get through. But I definitely see that, you know, the support that you guys have offered to us throughout this whole process has allowed us an opportunity to, you know, keep the training wheels on if we need them, or take them off when we're ready to ride.
That's, that's great. And speaking of training,
Yeah,
one thing I'll mention to just make sure everybody understands is that ETQ does have a full training capability, a set of solutions and courses available called ETQ Academy. How much of that have you relied on?
so in the beginning and when we have new staff, we use it as an introduction to the system just to get everybody's feet wet, or I was sleeping during the training session with me and I don't remember what she said about searching for documents, etc. So, but now I'll use it a lot as a refresher before I start developing the next module. And a lot of the individuals will do that. They refer back to it to remember or to do something more advanced.
Okay. So, in your mind, has installing ETQ Reliance been a success, and how would you evaluate that?
Sure. So I would say yes, because it's definitely making my job a lot more efficient and easier and visible. Um, and we were able to get all the gaps in the training or
Mhm.
doc control in front of us, so we knew what needed to be addressed, and allowing QA to stay in front of those things. And now with Allentown, Pennsylvania coming online, they're going from paper to electronic. So I'm able to support and help them. So because I've got now everything in view here and I'm not shuffling my processes around and spending all that labor, now I can help them because I can see it and move it along electronically.
Yeah, very good. And finally, through all this, and everybody listening to us now on this webinar, what lessons learned would you like the folks to take away from your experience?
So I would say absolutely take the time to evaluate your processes. Look at them, strip them down, look at how you could do something better. Be open to new processes and look at things from different angles. I would always take an opportunity to streamline in the early stages if you can, and mapping out your requirements. And then, like our Allentown site, for them, there was a learning curve because they didn't understand like the workflow process. So now moving forward with any modules, I take a little extra time with them to do training and work closely, make myself available for questions. And I think the more exposure, everybody's kind of getting the feel for this, and we can make our processes and systems better and uniform across whatever module they're working with.
Okay, great. So I think at this point, it would be great to get some questions from the audience. So we'll go into the Q&A portion of the session. And while we're doing that, if you put up the next slide, Crystal, there's some resources that are available on the ETQ website for folks to come take a look at if they want more information. So we do have some questions that have come in from the webinar participants. I am going to just skip to one right now. Don had asked if we're going to show a demo or show look and feel and navigation. And I'll say at this point on this webinar, no, we're not going to do that, Don. But I would suggest that feel free to reach out to us and we can give you a full demo of the system and show you similar to what Crystal uses on a day-to-day basis. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to the top of the list here and just go through. First, Larry asks, what is your IQ, OQ, PQ effort, time and number of people?
So time, it took us, if you remember going back to when we installed, it took for our first two modules, realistically, it took a year, but that is also because it honestly was myself doing the entire paperwork. We did purchase some of the documentation from ETQ, so that also helped to make it a little easier. But realistically, it was about a year myself on it, plus doing my other responsibilities at the same time. And that's primarily why it took so long, because I had no one else but my boss, and he's wearing all the hats of QA as well.
Okay, and I think that pretty much answers William's question as well, from what I can tell here. So Chris has asked, how is the ETQ Reliance quality module used by production QA employees? Is it real time for you guys? Are QC forms, NCRs filled in online? Are quality documents accessible to external auditors and customers for verification? How do you manage that right now? Are you there yet? I mean, I know you're still in the process of implementing additional modules.
So with that particular module, we are not there yet.
Okay.
But that piece doesn't necessarily apply to us because we don't manufacture anything. We're just an analytical research laboratory. So I'm not sure that I could really best serve answering that.
Okay, fair enough. So Chris, I'd suggest, reach out, and we'll reach out to you as well. We'll help get an answer as to how some of our other customers are actually using the product. So Brittany asked a question. I'm going to turn it a little bit. And I know you said it took about a year to get things up and running, but did you take them more out of the box, or did you look at the applications and the workflows and put your own spin on them?
It's a very good question, and definitely helps to justify the year. We did. So if we went with the out of the box, or closer to the out of the box, I have no doubt that it would have been a lot faster. We had a lot of tweaks that we wanted for our particular setup. And because there was like that learning curve and smaller resource pool, that was the challenge for us. Like now with the modules that I'm working on, I technically probably could have had them all done within 3 months or less. And that's because we made minimal changes.
Okay. And as you were making changes, Charles wants to know, how easy did you find it to modify forms to meet your company standards and your needs?
It really is. Once you learn the system, I have no problem making changes now. Like you go into design mode, click add a field, click hide a field, whatever you're doing, and you can do the design changes all while users are still in the system as an administrator. So I feel that it's pretty easy as an administrator to take care of those changes.
Okay, that's good. And I'm assuming that Academy, the courses have helped make sure that you understood what you were doing there?
Yes, I always check those first before, especially if I'm entering territory that might be a change that I'm not as versed in. But I feel a lot more comfortable now as a user, where I was a novice, a year ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah, and it's nice to have a resource available to you on demand. If you have that question, you can go look it up. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. And then Salim has asked, how long did you have your manual system and Reliance running in parallel before going just all on Reliance? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, that definitely is. So here at White House, we did have a dock control system already while we were installing ETQ's system. And so I ran them parallel. Probably we gave it like a month before we fully cut over. Our Allentown, Pennsylvania site, they really kind of cut things off this year, because we did all of the work to kind of set everything up. So they just had to find the time to start loading the paper in. So really, it wasn't that bad to convert over for us. And ETQ has a lot of the tools and templates that make it really easy. So it's just spreadsheets where you can kind of migrate even from a paper system into that. You know, if you want to take those documents and scan them, and you can load them through the VPN.
Okay. And then Matt has asked a question, and I'm not sure if you've got anything configured here, but do you link your customers in any way, shape, or form to the system?
We do not right now, but that is a plan for the future, because we do have customers who want to be a part of approving their methods, you know, reviewing investigations. And I think for them, they would really very much like to be involved in the process. So I think that's slated down the road that we are hoping to bring our customers in.
Okay, great. Let's see. Charles asked a question here. I understand you're not manufacturing, but did you have to install any computers in order to grant access to your employees?
No.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah. I was gonna say we're cloud, so.
Yeah. So that's the advantage of the ETQ hosted solution. It was one of the selling points for us. You know, when we had originally shopped ETQ years ago, we had looked at it, and it was a server equipment heavy solution that we had eyed up, and it wasn't feasible for us to do. But once you came out with the cloud solution, it was a more reasonable chunk for us to bite off as a locally smaller run piece of the company.
Okay. And yeah, so everybody's aware, the way ETQ Reliance is deployed these days, it is through the cloud. As I mentioned, it's cloud native, takes advantage. We are hosted in AWS, Amazon Web Services. And as you grow, I mean, one of the beauties of this is as you grow, you add more users, whatever, the system just automatically expands. So you don't have to worry about upgrading your hardware. You don't have to worry about upgrading your software. That's something that ETQ takes care of for the customers. And so we don't have to worry about anything changing there from your perspective and dealing with that. And then, okay, so Salim asked a question, where's the data stored? And it's in the cloud. So from your perspective, Crystal, and he says, we have a lot of patient data and product data. How do you feel about the data being stored in the cloud?
It's the way a lot of software companies are going now. And it is something that we had to evaluate and ensure in our validation process that it was being managed and secured properly when we did our vendor evaluation of ETQ.
Okay. Yeah, and what we've seen is that storage in the cloud is as secure as storage that you'll find on site. So I know a lot of people do have concerns about documents and data being stored in the cloud, but we work very closely with AWS, and we have really strong security to make sure that your information is safe. It's you know, it's encrypted. The security is we just make sure it's locked down pretty tightly, so only the right people are getting access to the information that are supposed to get to it. Let me see. I'm just looking at we have, Charles asked, we have requirements to store data for 10 years. Is that something feasible in the cloud? And it is the way the cloud is going these days. Do you have to pay for storage? It depends. That's something we'd have to discuss and look at your requirements. I can't give a blanket answer to that right now, but it's something that we could certainly explore with you in terms of what your needs are. And then Scott asked a question about ETQ having a non-conforming materials application, and the answer is yes. I think we should sit down and discuss it with you, Scott, a little bit more in terms of what your requirements are. Our pricing is what's called a CCU, or concurrent user model, and so we certainly could have that discussion and get into more details there with you. The thing we find is that because of the flexibility of Reliance, every customer's needs are different, and so certainly we can meet your needs, and we just need to make sure that we have it configured properly to give you any sort of appropriate pricing. And that is all the questions I see right now. I don't know if there's any. Oh, it looks like one more jumped in here. Oh, Charles, thank you. Said thank you for your time. Crystal, I want to echo that. Thank you so much for your time and joining us today for this conversation, and to just give us a little bit of insight as to how Intertek is using ETQ Reliance and how you're managing with such a lean organization. And any last words before we turn it back over to Dirk that you want to throw out there?
No, I just want to say thank you for everyone's time today and letting me share our journey here, and the platform from both ETQ and Quality Digest. If anybody has any other questions, I mean, David, feel free to funnel anything back to me, and I'd be happy
Sure.
to answer anyone.
Yeah, well, one did jump in here at the end before I turn it back over to you, Dirk.
Okay.
And so I think we talked about this a little bit, but what do you advise? Should we implement department by department? Should we take it one module at a time, introduce it for the entire company? It says our QMS starts when business development, sales, marketing, and product development start the requirements.
Gotcha. I really like the one module at a time approach. It gets everyone's feet wet. But that's from a smaller setup. So you could almost view us as an entire department here. We're about 40 employees at our site. So, that would be my advice, is just start with the one module at a time and get everybody used to using the system.
All right, great. All right. Thank you again, Crystal. Dirk, back over to you.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm going to leave my camera off since I've been having some internet problems here, and turning on the camera just makes it worse. Yeah, that was a great webinar, guys. Some great questions from the audience. Thanks for all of you for participating, asking some really good questions of Crystal there. And Crystal, really do appreciate your time, and David, you as well, of course. You will all be receiving an email in about 24 hours from Quality Digest, and it will have a link with a recording of this webinar so that you can go out and share it with friends or watch it again if you want to do that. Some great information, so that might not be a bad idea, especially to pass it along. So that is it for today from all of us here at Quality Digest and ETQ. Have a great day, and we will see you at the next webinar. So long.
Thank you.
Thank you.